now, right 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 now. Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today, so we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekly morning show where we bring you the latest in everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about the major crash that has happened on Bitcoin over just the last few days. What I have witnessed is very interesting. It's very, very interesting to see how Bitcoin has corrected over the last 24 hours, because we had this monumental, just absolutely beautiful rally going on yesterday, and Bitcoin completely erased it. We expected that Bitcoin would probably drop back down to 110, but instead, over the last few hours, especially around 7 a.m. this morning, we dropped back down to $106,800. Today, we're going to be talking about what this means, why this happened, and we're going to be talking about where Bitcoin goes from here. If you were on stream yesterday, we had a very interesting stream because we actually managed to go into a trade, and I closed that trade after stream, so I kind of want to give you an update on how that went. We ended up closing out at close to 50% profit here. We ended up entering into the trade right here at approximately $111,300. And right after the stream, I was starting to sense that we were having weakness in the market. I could see this kind of rounding top right here. And what we ended up seeing was that Bitcoin was witnessing a rejection off of one of our Fibonacci levels that we were paying very close attention to. If we pull our Fib right here off of these levels, what I was seeing is that Bitcoin was having a very difficult time breaking through the 0.786 fib level, which is this kind of purplish blue line, whatever color it is. Feel free to make fun of me in the comments. I'm colorblind. I have absolutely no idea what color that is. It could be green for all I know. But anyway, I saw that Bitcoin was having a difficult time breaking through that because the chart using bar replay right here was, let's see, I was doing some back testing, so it's got bar replay in the wrong place. Let's select the bar. That's very interesting. Let's see if it'll end up working for me. This is in 2019. Okay, yeah, I need to, sorry, like I said, we were doing some back testing the other day, so it ended up jumping me back to 2019 where I was looking at off screen. Starting new, we were looking at the chart right here, and I could see that, the reason I'm going over this is because I want to kind of put a wrap on the trading that we did on stream yesterday, because it's very important to me that you guys understand how to do this. What we were looking at here was this kind of market. We had our downtrend that looked a little something like this. Bitcoin broke out of it. It was fantastic. We ended up having our Fibonacci retracement right here. And yesterday, I saw that Bitcoin was kind of having a hard time getting up above the 0.786. You see this? So our original, if you'll remember, our original take profit was up here at like 114,800. When I started to see that Bitcoin was having a very difficult time getting above 0.786, and especially when I saw that Bitcoin was about to break below this uptrend, then we went ahead and exited our trade. Again, we entered on this candle body right here. I ended up fully closing the trade in profit right here. So that was a discrepancy. We were on 30x leverage, so that was a discrepancy of approximately 2%. So it was about a 60% profit. I closed some out when I'd closed some out over here, so it ended up being overall about a 50% profit trade. And the reason I closed this out is because I could tell that this uptrend was about to break. It was kind of a discretionary move. A lot of times I try to be very formulaic in my trading so that it's actually repeatable. However, yesterday it was becoming pretty obvious that we were going to end up dumping across this line. And so when you fast forwarded, within just a couple of minutes of me doing that, we had broken our bullish safety line. So luckily I'd exited about at the exact top. Bitcoin ended up rallying a little bit farther, but the move ended up capitulating about 20 minutes later with 114,000 being the top. And that's when the kind of the falling over happened that we've been watching over the last 24 hours take place. So very glad that I got out of that trade. Sounds like some of you guys got into good short trades, which is very exciting. I'm very happy for you on that. Essentially, what this ended up being in hindsight was a liquidity grab. If we go ahead and look at CoinGlass, what you're going to see is that Bitcoin was sitting beneath a massive amount of short liquidations. A lot of people have gone short prematurely. This is part of the reason that we use one of our convergences that we've talked about, where Bitcoin should break above a downtrend, backtest it, and then bounce. You end up going right here because this could be a liquidity grab. This is the actual movement. Do you see the difference there? This is really important for trading. If you've got this downtrend, right? This downtrend right here, if I can draw it closely, and you end up breaking above it, and then you come back down to backtest it, you don't even know that you're going to be able to hold right here because this all could have just been a liquidity grab, which, as you can see, this all ended up being a liquidity grab. We never got a bounce and rallied from there. And I was looking for a back test on the minute chart, but the back test ended up happening over the course of the next 6 hours. So we ended up getting a good rally here. But when Bitcoin back tested down here, you can see we fell back through this downtrending level of, at the time, support, became resistance once again. And that just shows us that this was nothing more than a liquidity grab. Liquidated a bunch of shorts. The whales were hunting the shorts. We ended up seeing, let's see if I can find the data here. It's moved around on me. No, it hadn't. I was just on the wrong screen. The liquidations totaled, maybe they did move it around. Here it is. The liquidations totaled approximately, I think, $200 million or so. We saw at 10 a.m. yesterday, right around the time we were on stream with that breakout, $145 million in shorts liquidated. The next hour, the 1100 hour, we ended up seeing a $48 million liquidation as well. And then we saw a $22 million liquidation the hour after that. So over $200 million in short positions got liquidated. And this ended up being a false move and a liquidity grab. Now, it's interesting because it didn't look like a liquidity grab at first. We did actually manage to break through our 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level, which was very indicative that we could be going into an uptrend. But the disappointing thing that we have here is that Bitcoin now finds itself right back in the middle of this symmetrical triangle pattern, with this downtrend right here being its top, this uptrending level of support being its bottom, and on top of that, on the 1 hour chart, we're actually now below the 20 exponential moving average. And so, considering we were using this as support a couple of days ago, now we're using it as resistance, and we had this wick down here to $106,000. Then what ends up happening here is we are witnessing broad weakness in the market. Since that was a short grab and it wasn't an actual sustained movement, what it means is that that was basically a short liquidation event, and it's not something that we can really base our data off of. In mathematics, this would be called outlier data. If you look on the daily chart, for example, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about here. It just ended up being a really long, tall wick, right? We jumped back up here and we tested the 50 daily exponential moving average, right? We ended up testing the 50 moving average, but that 50 moving average being touched does not indicate bullishness. In fact, if anything, it actually indicates that Bitcoin is bearish because we were not able to break through it. So this so far has turned from a very bullish story yesterday to a very bearish story. If you'll remember to yesterday's stream and on Twitter yesterday, on X yesterday, I was discussing the possibility that we talked about that Bitcoin could end up invalidating our $94,000 to $100,000 price target. I said that I'm not going to invalidate that price target until Bitcoin invalidates the actual prediction. The actual prediction for 94 to 100K is so long as Bitcoin is beneath $116,000. This double top, then I am calling for a $94,000 to $100,000 Bitcoin. We already almost hit that. We need to understand that that prediction's already come 85% true, because we made that prediction up here. Bitcoin dropping down to $100,000, the top of that range is a 12% drop. We've already seen a 9.5%, almost 10% drop. So we're already 80% filled on that prediction. But there is a possibility here that if Bitcoin is not able to see some bullishness and break above this downtrend with confidence in the next few days, then we're going to see a drop. So here's what we should be looking at on the short term, and then we'll zoom out and looking at the long term. What we are witnessing right now is a decision that has to be made in Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin bullish or is Bitcoin bearish? No one really knows. We have our different predictions, but no one really knows. What we do know is that Bitcoin on this Fibonacci attempted to get above the 0.382, didn't even manage to get to the 0.5 when you pull a Fibonacci retracement off of the entire corrective movement. Right now, we're stuck beneath 109,000, which also corresponds with the 50 hourly exponential moving average. And so long as Bitcoin is stuck beneath that level, that indicates extreme bearishness. On top of that, we also saw a lower wick right here, which is not very good for the market at all. On top of that, on the 4-hour chart, on the hourly chart, if you can believe it, this actually ended up printing bearish RSI divergence. It's kind of shocking considering how large this rally was that this ended up printing RSI divergence, but it did. Now, the flip side of that is that technically you've also got bullish RSI divergence right here. So once again, the market is ranging. And that's the major first lesson I want to give you today. Class is in session. The first lesson I want to give you today is as such: when the market is ranging, you can make predictions about where you think the market is going, and that's fine. But the most important thing is that you're prepared for either scenario. Remember, winning traders do not win most trades. What? Jeb, you're crazy. What kind of nonsense are you spilling? What are you saying? That's nonsense. It's actually not. A lot of winning traders actually lose more trades than they win, but the way that they end up succeeding over time is that when they lose one risk, and when they gain and when they win 3, 4, 5 risk. However much you're risking on the trade, they'll win 3 to 5 R. Right? So being a trader is not actually about being right. It's about mitigating risk, maximizing reward. And so right now, my prediction has been that Bitcoin's going to 94 to 100,000. And I'm going to stay with that because I really do believe that that's what's probably going to happen. But I'm not risking anything with that prediction, and I encourage you not to either. I lose nothing if Bitcoin doesn't get down there other than opportunities to buy lower. And I'm buying up here. I'll buy at 108,000. I don't mind. I bought a bunch of Bitcoin the other day at 106,000. Love it. Have no issue with that whatsoever. So the most important thing that we need to do here is we need to understand the core concept that we are supposed to be, as traders, reactionary. When the market gives us information about which direction it wants to go, we say, okay, market, we're going to go with that. And when we see that trend change, then we're ready to take massive action, such as taking an investment, such as taking a trade, etc. So the point here that I want to start off with is that when the market is ranging like this and is not giving you a lot to go off of, then you're going to have a difficult time making predictions about which direction the market is going to go, and that's understandable. That said, it is still helpful to make predictions. It's still helpful to have an understanding of where the market's going to go. So let's talk a little bit about that. I am very much discouraged with the recent price action. This was our attempted bounce off of 103. We managed to rally to 113. We corrected $22,000, and the bounce was $10,000 tall. That's about a 40% retracement, which you would see here on Fib. It's about a 40% correction back up to the all-time high. If this was our local top, that's not good enough. And by the way, there's also another reason why it might be the local top. As you can see, this downtrend from these highs, these market highs up here, also kind of point down and intersect the 0.382. So basically what you ended up seeing happen is that Bitcoin put a wick above, but it didn't stay up there for very long. You'll probably see the wick on it happened in the middle of the there we go. You can see on the 12-hour exactly what I'm talking about. We put a wick above there, but it just wasn't enough to sustain. So our bearish thesis is still intact. We still have a bias towards the bears for the short to medium term. By that, I mean the next 2 to 14 days. Until otherwise proven. We take a position based on extensive analysis of fundamentals, based on extensive technical analysis, based on extensive on-chain and sentiment analysis. And then from there, we stick with our prediction until we are proven wrong. Our prediction, ever since back over here, has been that Bitcoin, in fact, I think it was right here. I think it was right there. Our prediction ever since about right here on Tuesday of last week is that Bitcoin's going to drop down to 94 to 100K. And we're going to stick with that because that's what we have seen happening until something changes. Now, the other thing I do want to mention is that part of this dump had to do with Trump's Twitter. Again, Trump's Truth Social. So let me see if I can find this. He talked again about China, talked about putting a 155% tariff on China. I think it was. I think this was a Truth Social. Let me see if I can find it. But regardless, the issue that people ran into is this idea that there's going to be significant tariffs coming in on the nation of China. And so the reason that that's so significant is because typically when you see tariffs, it causes prices to rise. People can consider it an inflationary event. And funnily enough, in the history of Bitcoin, whenever the US dollar is going through massive inflation, that's actually not the driver of bullish price action on Bitcoin. The driver of bullish price action on Bitcoin comes 3 to 6 months later when the Fed responds to it. So for example, we were seeing enormous inflation right here in the first half to the first 3 quarters of 2020. Enormous inflation, and Bitcoin's basically sideways. It was only when the Fed came in and started printing and you saw the Paycheck Protection Program and you saw the stimmy checks, that's when Bitcoin moonshot. Right? So right now, people have all kinds of fears and concerns about Trump's tariffs causing inflation, Trump's tariffs being bad for the labor market, etc. And those fears are typically not good for Bitcoin because as Bitcoin is still in its infancy, Bitcoin is considered to be a risk-on investment vehicle, which means that if you are risk-off in a market where you're concerned about inflation and labor market conditions, then you don't buy Bitcoin. At least if you are a hedge fund manager, or you're in Wall Street, or you're a stockbroker, or you're talking about grandma's 401k, right? Those kind of people are not investing in Bitcoin because they still consider it too volatile. They don't consider it to be like a blue chip stock or blue chip asset yet. Although we consider that, the masses don't. So when the masses are freaked out and scared, what they end up doing is they end up not buying into Bitcoin. But when you see the Fed start to print with QE, then that's where you see Bitcoin go absolutely parabolic. The United States Central Bank balance sheet is right here, and you're going to notice something really interesting when you overlay USC BBS with the Bitcoin chart. If you overlay USC BBS, United States Central Bank balance sheet, that's the ticker symbol for the balance sheet at the Fed. If you overlay the USC BBS, what you're going to see is that right at the beginning of COVID, you saw this massive pump, like $3 trillion injected straight into the economy. A few months later, that's when Bitcoin went parabolic. Because, and here's why. This money that got put into the economy through the purchasing of treasuries and mortgage-backed securities, in other words, rolling on to the Federal Reserve's balance sheet, this did not hit the public immediately. It took 3, 6, 9 months for it to impact Bitcoin because the way the Fed injects liquidity into the market is by buying treasuries and mortgage-backed securities. Well, a treasury means that you are funding the United States government. The government then spends money, which that allows the money to get out to the public, and then the public is able to use it. Now, what the federal government did with a couple $1 trillion of this stimulus is that they sent it out in Paycheck Protection Program, and they sent it out in stimulus checks, and a lot of that took several months to hit people's accounts, right? And on top of that, you also saw the purchasing of mortgage-backed securities. Well, the purchasing of mortgage-backed securities primarily makes one group of people rich, and that'd be bankers that package mortgages into mortgage-backed securities and sell them to other banking institutions and to Wall Street. And so once again, it took several months for that to end up impacting the price of Bitcoin. And so as Bitcoin came out of this fear and we realized we're in this soft money era, then Bitcoin exploded. Well, we're about to see the exact same thing happen. Relatively soon, you're going to see quantitative easing start again. QE is very simply the process by which the Federal Reserve injects liquidity into the market through the purchasing of treasuries and mortgage-backed securities with money that doesn't actually exist. Yes, that is actually how it works. It's money that is not real. It's fake pretend money. It's not real money. But nevertheless, they end up giving it to the government. They loan it to the government and charge interest. They loan it to the banks, and they make a return on it through the purchasing of mortgage-backed securities, right? And so when they do that, that is going to stimulate liquidity in the economy, and you're going to see in the next 3 to 6 months the interest rates start to come down aggressively. You're going to see the quantitative easing start taking place, probably not as aggressively as it did during COVID, because we're not witnessing some kind of giant pandemic. I don't think you're going to see $3 trillion added in like 90 days like you did during COVID. But what you are going to see is quantitative easing, and just the mere word quantitative easing and the green light next to it is going to lead people into these hard assets such as Bitcoin and such as gold. Now, the other thing you have to consider, and why I am long-term extremely bullish on Bitcoin, is because gold is finally having a correction. I don't know if this is the correction that we've been calling for, because the correction that I'm calling for is a little bit bigger than the one that we've seen so far. But as we predicted yesterday, and as we've been predicting for several weeks, gold did come down, and it exactly touched $4,000. It touched it exactly, $4,001, right? We hit $4,000 on the dot at 8 o'clock in the evening yesterday. We made a tweet right here on this blue line that that gold was going to end up dropping back down towards that level. You can see 20 hours later, yesterday, decent chance gold catches a short-term bottom and restarts an uptrend around $4,000 an ounce. QE and rate cuts are all not here yet. No reason for gold to stop its run this soon. Larger correction and rotation into Bitcoin is still ahead, likely 3 to 6 months out. So this correction on gold theoretically should be driving the price of Bitcoin higher, but it's not. Right? It's not. And also the other thing is, even though we understand that this is probably not a macro crash on gold, a lot of people don't. So why is there not more value flowing out of gold into Bitcoin? It's because Bitcoin's being suppressed. Bitcoin's being suppressed not necessarily institutionally, not necessarily market manipulation, but it's being suppressed because of a bad sentiment. It's being suppressed because it's stuck down here right around previous all-time highs. Bitcoin is stuck down here around previous all-time highs like this, right? We're stuck in this zone, and Bitcoin keeps coming back down and backtesting it. So most likely, this zone's going to break. Technically speaking, I would be short right now as far as in a long-term capacity. And when I'm looking at long-term short, what I'm looking at there is not actually selling my Bitcoin to buy it back. I'm looking at just saying I need to start getting aggressive in the buying of it. So I'm not necessarily short trading it, but I am getting aggressive in the acquiring of Bitcoin at these levels. Bitcoin is coming back into a major bulwark of visible range volume profile support, which sits right here at 95,000. If you look on the 50 weekly moving average, exponential moving average, every time that Bitcoin has come back down to backtest this movement, this moving average here, we've had a major bounce, right? There's no reason to believe that we're not going to see another major bounce if Bitcoin drops down here. And by the way, guess what? This uptrending moving average is sitting exactly at $100,000. It's right there. What we may be about to witness, and a lot of you guys are doom and gloom saying we're about to go into this massive bear market. We're about to see Bitcoin crash 50%. For those of you that are doom and gloom, until we see a break of market structure, we don't need to argue that. We can come back down to this level and send a scam wick down. We can come back down, set a candle body down here, scam wick down to 95, and then bounce, right? This little movement right here would not invalidate the uptrend. It would just be an over leveraged long liquidation event. It'd be once again a liquidity grab on over leveraged longs that have their liquidation prices at 97,000. For the love of all that is good and holy, if you have a long trade that you're trying to hold for any amount of time and you're going to get liquidated if Bitcoin drops down to 98, fix that. Like, really? I mean, come on. That's what Bitcoin does. That's what markets do. They don't always hold the exact level. Sometimes they sneak below it for 4 hours to scare the crap out of everybody, shake out the weak hands, hit that liquidity grab, catch $10 billion of long liquidation. So please, if you're in a very, very, very long-term position and you're trying to maintain a low liquidation price, make sure it's a lot lower than that, because we could drop down there. Now, another thing, if you look at I think it's the 20 on the monthly. Let's look at the 20 monthly. Right? We looked at the 50 weekly. Let's look at the 20 monthly. Look at the 20 monthly. Here's the 20 monthly chart. If Bitcoin did break below the 50 weekly, oh my gosh, Bitcoin broke below the 50 weekly. Oh no. Well, the 20 monthly is sitting down here at $88,000. That is classic bull market support. I'll show you the history. This is classic bull market support. Bitcoin has come back down and backtested this level many times during bull markets. We did it here, right? We did it here, and we ended up rallying farther, right? When we broke through this bull market support right here is when the bull market started, and we've come back and backtested it twice in this market. And the most recent technical analysis is the most important analysis because previous markets had different fundamentals than our current market. So just keep that in mind too. Falling back down to this level has always been a strong support zone. On top of that, if you look at the daily chart, here's another thing I want to point out to you. Bitcoin bottomed out here. Where did it bottom out? $25,000. Bitcoin bottomed out here. Where did it bottom out? $50,000. Bitcoin bottomed out here. Where did it bottom out? $75,000. Bitcoin might bottom out here. Where are we saying it might bottom out at? $100,000. Literally so far, every time Bitcoin has caught a bottom, it's been a plus $25,000, plus 25K movement. Right? That's literally how it goes. You're adding, every time you see a bottom here, the entire bull market top market capitalization of the 2017 bull market. I mean, imagine a future where every time you have a crash, you add $100,000. Imagine rallying to, for example, imagine rallying to $300,000, dropping back to $200, and then you rally to $400,000 and you drop back to $300, and then you rally to $500,000, you drop back to $400. And you rally to $600,000, you drop back to $500. That's kind of what we're doing right now. You understand? It's like all of our support architecture gives us confidence of $100,000, one, being hit, and two, being held. I personally believe that anything above $92,000 on Bitcoin is still a bull market. That said, I do want to make it very well known. The minute chart looks ridiculously bearish. Do you see how flat this is? Like, one of the things we talked about in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy like a decade ago in CT2A was that when you see a market come down and it just kind of bounces and 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 it never gets any distance, that level's probably going to break. So 107,800 is probably going to break. It's probably going to. I mean, there's a very high likelihood that you're going to see a corrective movement down here, right? You even saw a wick down here to 106 this morning at 7 o'clock. So we'll see what happens, but Bitcoin is really, really tightly hugging this level of support here at $107,000. And so it doesn't really give me a lot of confidence that we are done with this correction. It gives me more so confidence that Bitcoin has a high likelihood of continuing lower. So we have not canceled, and I will not cancel our $94,000 to $100,000 call just yet, because I do not see any reason whatsoever that we should say that that's been invalidated. All right, let's read some chat. Jeb makes two kinds of videos every day. One, Bitcoin's going to 100K. Two, Bitcoin's going to 150K. You're right. Those are the two videos I make. You're absolutely right. I know you're saying that as a hater, but I'm going to concede to you. That's totally right. And you know why I do that? I will tell you why I do that. Because I am a technical analyst, and my job is to look at the long term and the short term. Short term, Bitcoin's probably going to 100K. After it hits that, it's probably going to 150. Some videos are about this correction. Some videos are about this rally. Those two things are not contradictory. There's no overlap in these two topics. Venn diagram. There's no overlap whatsoever. I kind of look like a vacuum cleaner. There's no overlap whatsoever. There's no contradiction there. Bitcoin is most likely going to have a corrective movement for a time, and then from there, it will probably end up rallying even farther. All right. Bitcoin cycle theory mathematically predicts that since miners get half the previous reward, i.e. half the Bitcoin is produced, then Bitcoin should at least reach 2x the previous highs, i.e. $140,000. Yeah, I don't think that's everything that drives the price of Bitcoin, but I do think that is a correct line of thought for sure. Yeah, so would I short right now? I'm tempted to. The issue is I don't think that if I were to go short right now, I could properly set up risk to reward. And that's the main reason that I'm not going to go short right now. Because this looks like, let me show you what I'm talking about. I only take trades. This is how I win with trading. I only take trades that I can get at least a 3x risk to reward ratio. If I set my stop loss, I really feel like I need to set my stop loss higher than this wick. And I have to set my take profit down here like 104. I'm not quite sure we're going to drop that far. So even though I do think that Bitcoin's going to break below this flat level of support, I'm not taking it because I have a risk to reward on this setup of 2.54. That's just not good enough. That's not good enough. If I take that, what I think about is if I took this exact trade 100 times, would I statistically, mathematically be profitable? Would it be a good option for me to take this trade 100 times? If I take this trade once and I'm emotionally like, oh yeah, it'll probably happen. Well, then I'm going by emotions. I'm trading emotionally. But if on the flip side, I end up saying to myself, well, what if I took this trade 100 times? Would I have significantly more money at the end of those 100 trades than I would now? And right now, I can't say that because probably at least half of the time, I get stopped out. At least half of the other time, possibly only 1/3 of the time, do I manage to get a decent target. And so while I do think that Bitcoin's going to break this flat level of support, the market structure just isn't there for it to be a very profitable short trade. So I will tell you right now, I'll make it very clear. I think this level of support at 107 is going to break, and it's probably going to break in the next, I don't know. It could hold there for a while. It's probably going to break today. Let's just say it's probably going to break today. Unless some kind of fundamental event comes out. If Trump walks back his tariff threats again, then maybe not. But just from the technical analysis, not including fundamentals, then I would say that it's probably going to break. But I can't really set up a profitable trade on that because it just doesn't have the structure that I need it to have. All right. Let's read some chat. I love you guys so much. My favorite youth group pastor. There you go. Good TA. Thank you, Fred Sloan. We could retest the previous bull run all-time highs around 69K-ish. Yeah, we could. And if we did, that'd probably be a bear market bottom. That would invalidate what I'm saying about no bear market. But honestly, if the bear market only drops us down to 69,000, I think that would be incredibly bullish. Let's say we do have a bear market. Let's say I'm completely and totally wrong. And Bitcoin does just that. And we drop down to $69,000. If that happens, then that means that the bear market was a 44% drop. Bitcoin is accustomed to 77% drops. If Bitcoin now only has a 44% bear market, that's a win in my book. And it'll be a hit to my credibility and my reputation because people will be like, oh my gosh, Jeb, you said we weren't going that low. Well, first of all, I told you to be ready for it. So I've said that 1,000 times. I'm ready for Bitcoin to go to 68. I got cash I'll deploy. Any liquidations I have are below that level by a long shot, right? I'm not sweating if Bitcoin goes down to 69K. I'm really not. I do not care. Bitcoin goes down to 50K. I don't care. I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need it. I'm fine. You know, I'm all good. And it could. I mean, it could happen. Like the bear market bottom could very well. I mean, for example, we saw 20K was this all-time high. We dropped down to 15K, right? 25% lower than the previous bull market high. If Bitcoin dropped down 25% lower than the previous bull market high, we dropped down to 50K. My worst case scenario is that Bitcoin drops to 50K. Like, that's like 1% likelihood right now. If we start seeing more levels break, like if we broke below 92, I would probably be calling for $50,000 Bitcoin. If Bitcoin broke another $16,000 south, I would probably call for 50K Bitcoin. And you know what I would do? I would spend every single minute up until we hit that, lining up as much capital as I possibly can by any means necessary to buy Bitcoin at $50,000. If I ever get a $50,000 entry on Bitcoin ever again, I'm probably going to buy like 40 coins. Like, I'm just going to go for it, man. Seriously. All right. Here, brother. Good to see you, Kryptoni. So every crypto YouTuber was wrong, huh? No alt season, bear market, even though we all have bullish macros, wild times and lawsuits will end these channels. I never called for alt season. I don't know if you've noticed. I don't talk about alt season. The reason I don't talk about alt season is I have no freaking idea when it's coming. I just told somebody on a coaching call this yesterday. I was like, look, I talk about things that I'm very confident in. I have an alt bag. If I got to wait 5 years to harvest that alt bag, so be it. But I have not put the majority of my wealth in altcoins because I don't. Look, here's the deal. Okay, I'm going to offend probably 30% of you. I don't care. I'm not here to offend you. I'm going to speak truth kindly. As far as to the best of my ability, I'm going to speak what I believe to be true. Bitcoin has a high enough ROI. And people with money that have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars at their disposal like we do, we're happy with the ROI that Bitcoin provides. Bitcoin's probably going to 10x in the next decade. That's good enough. You will not get that anywhere else. Reliably, you will not get that anywhere else with a very high risk, very high reward, very low risk. It is a massively asymmetric trade. Just the same way we're doing trades down on the minute chart, I'm doing a trade on Bitcoin over the next 20 years. The risk of it going to zero is very, very, very low, and the likelihood that it will hit my targets of $1 to $10 million in the next 10 to 20 years are extremely high. I only need to take that one trade to build wealth. And the way I do that is I build up a large income. A lot of you guys are trying to be investors, but something that you might notice about investors is that most of them were already rich when they started investing because they built a business. If you're making $10 an hour and you're trying to get rich in crypto, then here's what you're doing. And again, this is where I might offend some of you. And that's okay. If one of you stops doing this and you repent and start being wise, then it was worth offending the other 99 of you. I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm really not. I care about you. That's why I'm telling you the truth. What a lot of you guys are doing, what a lot of people are doing, is they make $10 an hour, they make $12 an hour, they work at McDonald's, and they are not in a high-paying skill because they have not put the work in to learn trading, mathematics, astrophysics, plumbing, electrical, how to be you fill in the blank, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, whatever. They've not figured out how to be an entrepreneur, how to found a company, how to sell products. They've not figured out how to make money, but they want to be an investor. You have to figure out income before you figure out what to do with the income. Some of you guys are over here spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours a day managing $100 worth of altcoins, thinking you're going to get rich. You won't. It doesn't work that way. The talk of the lips tendeth only to penury, but he that laboreth will increase, is what the Bible says. I think I quoted that second part right. When you labor, that's when you get wealth. It's kind of one of the basic laws of money, right? You work for your money, or according to, what is it, like 2 Thessalonians 3:10, I think it is. If you don't work, you don't eat. You don't get to use altcoins as your scapegoat to say, I don't want to work, but I want to eat. No. The biblical principle is if you don't work, you don't eat. It's really that simple. And so here's the problem. You're trying to find a 5,000x reward in altcoins that you're probably never going to find. When you could say, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to go figure out how to make $250,000 a year because this random kid Jeb is doing it and has been doing it for years. Like, I think in the last 7 years, I've had 1 year that was less than 250 grand. And that was at the very bottom of the last bull market. I'm not saying that to brag. What I'm saying is I have figured out how to provide value. I don't scam any of you guys. Anybody that comes across our channel, they have an extremely high likelihood of being in a better position because they came in contact with our content. Notice, nobody that listened to us and did what I told you to do got liquidated on 10/10. Not one. Not one. 1.6 million traders got liquidated. Not one of our traders got liquidated. Not one of our investors got liquidated. None of them. Not one that did what I told them to do. People come in contact with our company and they're better for it, and then the market rewards us with income. A 10x on Bitcoin, a 20x on Bitcoin over the next 10 to 15 years is plenty. Plenty of return. You don't need to go hunting 50x, 100x returns. That's not the problem. If you need a 100x return to build life-changing wealth and you need to do that in the next 10 years, you have an income problem or you have a greed problem. Either you're not happy till you have $1 billion, which is a contentment issue. Go make your $1 billion. That's fine. But if you're not content with a couple million, you got a problem. All right? And you have an income problem because if you need a 1,000x return, if you need a 100x return, you're not making enough money. There's two sides of the equation. There's the principal and there's the interest. A 10x interest over the next 10 years is plenty. It's plenty to make a ton of money. I'll prove it. I'll prove it. Go to an investment calculator. Go to an investment calculator. Let's go ahead and see what a fair rate of return for Bitcoin is. I think that Bitcoin will be worth $1 million in 2035. In fact, I think it'll be worth more than that. So let's calculate the CAGR that we need to get there. If Bitcoin grows at 24% a year, let's call it 23% a year, for the next 10 years, then we turn $107,000 into $1,040,000. And so that's what we're going to see most likely happen is within 10 years, Bitcoin's at $1 million, probably higher than that. So let's just use a 23% rate of return. By the way, stock market has managed a 23% rate of return over the last several years because of the dying of the dollar. So we're probably going to see even more than that. Let's take then this continual average growth rate, and let's say that we're going to start with, let's say you have $10,000 in Bitcoin right now. Yep. Let's say you have 0.1 Bitcoin. A lot of you guys have 0.1 Bitcoin. Let's say you have 0.1 Bitcoin. Monthly, let's say you add $1,000. $1,000 a month. It's not that much. In 10 years, you've got 560 grand. In 20 years, you've got $6 million. Okay, well, that's not good enough, Jeb. I want more than 600 grand in 10 years. Fine. I totally understand that. I think you should set your target higher than that. Let's say we invest $2,000 a month. Most of you can invest $2,000 a month. You're worth that much if you go put the work in and learn a skill. $2,000 a month in 10 years. You are a millionaire. You're a millionaire at that point. Let's say you invest $3,000 a month. This is stretching it, but a lot of you could probably do this if you put your mind to it. In 10 years, you have $1.5 million. $3,000 a month. In 20 years, you have $15 million. 30 years. I know I'm talking to some of the younger people with a 30-year timeline. You have $155 million. Well, Jeff, that doesn't make sense. $155 million. How does that happen? Well, that is basically, in 2055, Bitcoin trading at $100 million a coin. Jeff, that's insane. No, it's really not with inflation. It's really not. Bitcoin being at $100 million a coin is not as crazy as you think it is. Okay, so here's the dilemma. A lot of you guys are not okay with this growth rate. What you are doing is you're saying, I want an altcoin that's going to 1,000x next year. So in 1 year. I'm going to put $1,000 into it. And then what you've done is, this is supposed to be annually, right? What you've done is good for you. You turned $1,000 into $11,000. You took your $1,000, you got the 10x that you were looking for. You turned into 11. Okay, well, what about 100x? You 100x $1,000. Great, you have 100 grand. This is not life-changing money. $100,000 is not, it is life-changing money, don't get me wrong. But it's not retire your whole bloodline kind of money. But now let's say you put $1,000 a month into Bitcoin with a 23% average growth rate, and you give it 10 years. Instead of having 100 grand, because you worked a little harder, you got 457 grand. The rate of return is not the issue. This is the issue. A lot of you guys are unhappy with 23%, which honestly is probably going to be more like 25 to 26%. And you think that you're going to put $100 a month in and you're going to get rich. It's not good enough. You need to go fix this. You need to bring these into alignment. I invest bare minimum $10,000 a month into Bitcoin. If you look at a portfolio balance of 0, and I do that for 10 years, in 10 years, my Bitcoin has grown to being worth well over $5 million. The contributions, not even what I already have. If you extrapolate that out 20 years, you're looking at $78 million. Extrapolate that out 30 years. You're looking at $1 billion with what I'm doing right now. In 30 years, I genuinely believe if I don't screw up the system that I built, we will have a net worth well over $1 billion. Now, that might only be $100 million in today's money. I get that. And I understand that $10,000 a month is a lot of money. And that's like, a lot of times we do more than that. I understand that that's a lot of money and that not everybody can do that. But you don't have to do that to get wealthy. The only reason that I'm interested in building that much money is because I want to skim 10% off of it a year and fund missions. And I want to fund hundreds of millions of dollars a year worth of missions. That's the only reason I even care about building that much wealth in the first place. It doesn't make a difference to me after like 5 million. I think, what are you even going to do with all the money? After you hit 5 to 10 million, it's like you couldn't even spend it if you wanted to. You can buy everything you want, and then there's just nothing left to buy. So, after 5 to 10 million, I really don't care about the money anymore. It's just a game for me. But I want to be able to fund, good people and make sure they don't have to spend all their money, all their time fundraising. They can go make an impact in the world. And so that's my end goal, is building wealth and giving. And so I really want to encourage you guys that are saying, oh, that's not good enough. 10x is not good enough. That's a problem that you've got to work through. Okay? That's a problem you got to work through. So, will Bitcoin hit 100,000? I think so. I think so. But I really don't know. I don't know. I do not have a crystal ball. You guys got to have fair expectations with me. I'm an adult. Not an adult. I'm a human, right? I'm a human. We could be wrong. I don't know the future. But what I do know, and this is what's most important, is that if Bitcoin drops down to 100,000, I'm ready to buy. If Bitcoin drops down to 92,000, I'm ready to buy. Did you forget where we all came from? No, I didn't. I understand $10,000 a month is way more than most people can do. Guys, I remember as a kid putting $1.87 in the gas tank, because that's all we had to our name. I've not forgotten about where I come from. I understand that that's a much different situation than most of you guys. That's why I was giving you numbers based on $1,000 a month. Many of you guys that are working class folk, I coach you guys all the time. Put $1,000 a month into investments. The less you put in, the longer you'll have to wait, but you'll get there. You can build life-changing wealth on $1,000 a month. You can, but it's going to take a while. Upgrade that to $2,000 a month. Well, you just probably shorten the amount of time it takes you to get to your target by 50% or so. Upgrade it to $3,000 a month. You just brought it down by 66%. You understand what I'm saying? So my encouragement for you is to take a long-term strategy. This book right here, this book, 7 Habits. Anybody, if you've never read this book by Stephen Covey, you definitely should. I'm not a Mormon, but everything that he says in here is just phenomenal. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. Have you ever read this book? It's a fantastic book. Let's see if I can get the white balance to adjust. I don't know if I can. I don't think I'm going to be. There you go. You can kind of read it. Oh, no. There we go. Come on. My camera's like 10 feet over there. I can't reach it. Anyway. Oh, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, begin with the end in mind. Habit 2. You got to begin with the end in mind. What do you want to be? Where do you want to be in 30 years? You have to sit down with yourself and you have to say, what do I want 30 years from now? What do I want 30 years from now? But Jeb, yesterday you said to 200K, now crash. I said to 200K next year. Guys, oh my goodness. You ever do something in life and you answer the same question 1,000 times? A correction to 94 to 100K is likely within the next 1 to 3 months. A $200,000 price target is likely next year. So that's just, let me just say that again. Okay. Habit 2 in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You have to begin with the end in mind. What do you want in 30 years? Let me paint a picture for you. This will be so helpful. This will be so helpful. Here's what I want in 30 years. I want bare minimum 100 acres. I want a ton of live oak trees because I think they're beautiful and I would love to see my kids and grandchildren climbing in them, taking naps in them. I want 10 kids. We want to homeschool. That's something that we're going to be starting relatively soon. I want $1 billion, not because that makes me feel good about myself. I feel plenty good about myself right now. I don't have $1 billion, not even close. I want $1 billion because I want to shave 5 to 10% of it off every year, not touch the dollar value principle, and fund missions. Because there are unreached people all over the world that need laborers. Jesus said the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. Those laborers got to eat. Somebody got to pay them. I want to be that guy. I want to be the financier of the church. That's what I want to do. I want to have land, a bunch of kids, a bunch of grandkids. I want to wake up one day before I die and have 100 descendants. Between my children, their spouses, my grandchildren, maybe some great-grandchildren. That is wealth to me. That's what I want. I got up this morning. After I got out of bed, I went and picked up my daughter, and I sat there on the couch, and she just laid on me for 20 minutes. We were 5 minutes late to getting them to school. Okay, I want to be a man of integrity. I want to get people to where they need to be on time. But I just laid there with my 2-year-old and I just held her because she's awesome. She's just a little slice of heaven. I just love her so much. Her name's Charity. I love her so much. That's what I want. I want to have 10 kids. And you know what? That's a lot of mouths to feed. You know what? That's really hard on my wife's body. So I want to be able to hire people to come and help around the house while she's pregnant because it's really hard on a woman to have a baby. Can I get an amen from the one woman in chat? Right? I want to be able to take good care of them. Because the Bible says that wealth comes. Here are three of the most wealthy. Here are three things that truly wealthy people have. They have people that they're able to help. They have a spouse that they love being around, and they have a ton of children. That's what rich people have. I'm sorry, that's what wealthy people have. Rich people have money. Wealthy people have relationships. You feel me? You understand? Because there's a lady at our church who is on her deathbed. She's probably got a couple of weeks to live. We went and sang to her. Our home group a couple of weeks ago went and sang to her. That woman has nothing. She doesn't care about her money. What she cares about is that her daughter's there taking care of her. What she cares about is that she had 50 people from her church come and sing to her. She was crying her eyes out. What she cared about is that we came and she got to hold our 6-week-old baby. What she cares about is relationships. You're going to die one day. You got to start with that end in mind. What do you want? I do not care how many commas are in my bank account when I die. What I care about is whether or not I poured my life out as a living sacrifice to the Lord and my actions helped other people see Jesus, and I have friends and family around me that love me because I have earned a place in their life by being good to them. That's what I care about. That's my set of values. And to get there, I'm not going to get there speculating on every tiny little altcoin. I'm going to get there by picking a couple of good horses. Real estate, Bitcoin, maybe some gold, taking care of my health. I just went and ran a mile. I'm so out of shape, man. I've not run in a few months because of all the stuff going on with the baby. I'm finally able to start running again. I went and ran a mile, ran a 12-minute mile. I literally like 10 minutes before I got back. I walked in, finished my mile, started drinking some electrolytes, right? Body armor. I sat down and started the stream. That's wealth, is having. That's what I'm trying to teach you to do. When you come across our channel, my dream is to help you think about what do you want your last week in life to look like? What do you want your last 20 years in life to look like? What do you want 10 years from now and on to look like? And you need to adjust all of your actions today to optimize for that vision. If your vision is to have friends, if your vision is to have family, if your vision is to have provision, if your vision is to not go broke every 5 years because you keep speculating and over-leveraging yourself, if you keep just dumping everything into a random altcoin, you're not going to get there, and you're going to live a life of regret. I've watched that happen too many times. People get older and older and older, and they get closer and closer and closer to their deathbed. And as they get closer, and they know that it's coming, they know it might be 20 years from now, they know it might be 10 years from now, they know it might be 5 years from now, and there's less time in the hourglass. The top of the hourglass is so much smaller than the bottom. They get closer and closer and closer, and they look back and they say, I have a dwindling amount of time to fix this, and there's nothing I can really do about it. I am 25. I am blessed with youth. I have the ability to make good decisions right now that will set me up to have what I want and what I desire and what God desires for our family tomorrow. And that's what I'm going to do every day. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to give it my all so that our future is better than our current. Someone said, forget about running, Jeb. Start lifting and get swole. No, I love the gym. I'm actually going to be getting back in the gym pretty soon, too. I love lifting. When I started lifting, I literally could not even bench the bar. Literally could not even bench the bar. Like, on a bad day, I can do 135 for 10 now. Like, that's not much. Some of you guys are out here doing like 305 for reps. Like, I'm not that strong of an individual, but I do love the gym. I do definitely plan on getting back into it as our life allows. It's pretty hectic having, an 8-week-old. Our baby's 8 weeks old today, so, but it's coming. If I don't turn around in November, there's definitely a problem here. What's the problem? You guys are thinking too short term. Oh, what's the problem? What's the problem? What's the worst case scenario? Something that Dave Ramsey's talked about. Pretty much anybody who's successful in life will tell you about this. If you want to stop having anxiety, you need to go to the worst case scenario and you need to accept it as reality. Here's why Christians have so much peace. The worst case scenario is I walk out my front door, I get hit by a bus, I spend the next month in a hospital, I die a brutal, agonizing death, and then I spend eternity with God the Father and completely forgot about all the pain. For a Christian, that's the worst case scenario. I die a brutal, agonizing death, and then I wake up and I'm in heaven with God the Father for the rest of eternity. Well, all of a sudden, the pain I'm going through in this world doesn't seem so bad, does it? You got to begin with the end. You got to begin with the worst case scenario. What's the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario here, and by the way, this is why I did not go short. There was too much risk of Bitcoin bouncing here. That's kind of what I was doing right now. I'd be up there trying to take my stop loss right now. What's the worst case scenario? Literally, what is the worst that has ever happened to Bitcoin in terms of bear markets? Everybody's freaking out about a bear market. I don't freak out about bear markets. What's the worst that can happen? The worst bear market in Bitcoin history was a 87% drop. Okay, let's say, for the sake of argument, that Bitcoin's the same asset that it was back then, which it's not. Let's say that Bitcoin spent the next 420 days dropping 87%. Let's just say that happened. What does that do? That sends Bitcoin back down to $17,000 a coin. First of all, that's completely irrational. It's not going to happen. Let's say it did. So you're telling me that what you're scared about is being able to buy Bitcoin on a 90% discount. That's what's freaking you out? Is that because you're trying to harvest a 10-year crop, which is Bitcoin, next year? I mean, seriously, when are you trying to harvest your crop? When are you've planted seeds in Bitcoin? Are you trying to harvest them next year? That's why you're so freaked out, because worst case scenario, Bitcoin could be down 34% by then. If you're planning on harvesting your crop 5 to 10 years from now, there's barely ever been a time that Bitcoin was not worth significantly more if you held it for 5 years. There's only like a couple of days in history where that wasn't the case. And that's like right back over here. Bitcoin at this point in time, 5 years later. Actually, that's 3 years later, so never mind. I take that back, actually. The only time in history that that's ever happened was in this instance right here. This is the only point in Bitcoin history that Bitcoin was worth less than it was 5 years prior. And then that, as we can see, ended up being a generational buying opportunity. If you bought down there, Bitcoin rallied 600%. You're up 6x in 2 years. Okay? So, your worst case scenario is that you get a once-in-a-generation buying opportunity. Is that really that bad? Is that really that big of a deal? 2026 is bearish, and then 27 and 28 are enormous, and we blast off to 500, 600, 700K. Is that really bad? Is that really that bad? I really just, I just encourage you to think about your thoughts. That's part of what makes you human, is your self-awareness, your ability to step out of yourself, sit across the room and look at yourself and say, what am I thinking? When you do that, when you step out and you say, what am I thinking? What you end up doing is you realize, wow, I'm being irrational. It's irrational to fear a bear market. It is irrational to fear a bear market, unless it is, and you've got like your entire position on leverage and your liquidation is at 97. Well, you should be afraid because you're being stupid. Or you've got everything in altcoins and nothing in Bitcoin, and you're afraid that you're going to miss out on the Bitcoin run. That's rational. You should be afraid. That's not smart, right? But if you're being rational, you have no reason to fear a bear market. Let me make this very clear. I have more reason to fear a bear market than most of you do, because my income is directly tied to content creation in crypto. My income in the last bear market dropped by 92% at one point. My income, monthly income, dropped by 92% during the last bear market. Our average income up here compared to our average income down here was 92% lower. I don't think a one of you is risking a 92% revenue reduction in a bear market like we could be. Now, that's probably not going to happen again because our revenue actually grew in this bear market. This had a lot more to do with the company falling apart than it did with the bear market. It just happened to kind of overlap. So we're not going to see that happen again. We're much more stable at this point. But I have more reason to fear a bear market than you do, because my income can get cut in half, if not even more, in a bear market. And I'm not afraid. You know why? Because I've chosen FinSov, and I'm in a position where if Bitcoin does drop down there, fine. Just buy more. I have savings. Very low debt load. I'm okay with that. I have systems and structures and plans in place that I didn't before, because everything kind of collapsed all at once. I mean, I got hit from like 4 or 5 different directions at the same time. But you know what I didn't do? I didn't sit down here and wallow in pity over woe is me, crap has hit the fan, I'm missing out on buying opportunities. Because I made mistakes down here. We lost a lot of money down here. Our revenue and our net worth dropped by 92% during this correction. We almost lost our house. It got that bad because of just all the things that happened to us and all the mistakes that I had made during this time. This is where FinSov came from the crucible of fire, from getting smacked around so much by my own stupidity. I'm not in that position anymore because I've learned from it. I've taken massive action, taken accountability for my own life, for our family's life, said I'm going to be a provider no matter what the Bitcoin market does. We're going to be able to eat. We're going to have a roof over our head. Period. That is the end. Now I just have to figure out how to make it happen. If you're fearing a bear market, either one, you're being just completely and totally irrational and you need to adjust your thought process, or two, you've put yourself in a position to be very afraid and you should be afraid and you should do something about it. It takes you to get most of the country living paycheck to paycheck, dude. And this is even people who are making well over 70K a year. Yeah, no, I understand. Look, I get it. That the world is out to get you. Those of you guys that are earning, lower incomes, if you're earning less than $100,000 a year, you're going to get screwed. Like, you are going to get screwed in the next 5 years if you don't do something about it. And that is something that you should be, I'm not going to say afraid by, because you should have hope in Christ, but you should be working hard to fix it. I've told my wife, I don't feel safe. Now, this is going to sound irrational. This is going to sound weird. And this is going to sound like I'm really, I'm not trying to sound prideful here, but I don't feel economically safe below $1 million net worth, because I've watched $1 million evaporate in 12 months. I've watched that happen. And that puts pressure. That puts pressure, but I think it's healthy pressure if it's done right, to say, we need to earn wealth. I feel stressed out if I'm anywhere near, losing a lot of net worth, because I have to make sure that I feed these kids. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've had a kid a year ever since we got married. We had a baby in 2023, we had a baby in 2024, and we had a baby last month before last. I got to provide for them. You guys have to understand, 93% of our audience are men. Men. Sorry, let's start with the males. If you are a male with a wife and with children, and you are not giving it everything you have to provide for and protect that woman and those children, you have a problem. And if you're not trying at all to take care of your children and to take care of your wife, you're what we call a deadbeat. I have no respect for you. If you're trying and you haven't gotten there yet, I honor you, I bless you, I love you, I will be praying for you, and I'd be more than happy to help you in any possible way I can. I will unlock resources if I need to help you get there. If you have a heart to provide and protect for your wife and kids, but you just haven't figured it out yet, that's fine. You're fertile ground. I got no issue with that. But if your heart is hardened and you say to yourself, I don't care about providing for my wife and kids, shame on you. You should be very embarrassed by that. That's what's wrong with society. You absolutely have to decide today that you are going to do whatever it takes to provide for and to protect your family. And by the way, protecting your family has a lot to do with money. It's not just about protecting from the monsters under the bed. It's not just about shooting the guy that breaks in and tries to hurt your family. It's about making sure that they have food to eat. It's about making sure that they have a community that will step in if something goes wrong, because things can go wrong, and you're not a bad person if crap hits the fan. You're not a bad person if you make a mistake. You are a bad person if you're not trying. So man up and take care of your woman. Man up, take care of your kids. And if you haven't figured it out yet, no shame on you. If you're trying, if you're putting the work in and you're trying to get your head above water, but you just haven't figured it out yet, that's okay. No one expects you to be perfect. But Scripture does demand that you try. Scripture does demand that you work to be a provider and a protector for your family. Just keep that in mind. Now, where is Bitcoin going to go short term? Where Bitcoin is going to go short term is very difficult to tell right now. It's just very difficult to tell. But here's what I'm doing. If Bitcoin goes back down here below 106 or so, I'm going to have limit orders down there. I'm going to be buying. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be buying. Down at these levels, I'm happy to acquire long-term positions with any extra cash I have. If it drops down to 100, then great. New incoming cash, I'll invest more. That's great. Got savings, got debt under control, all of that, proper withholding, tax strategy, all that, all that. And so I'm happy to do that. And then as a trader, if I see an opportunity, I'm going to take it. But the thing I want to encourage you guys to do is that if we drop from here, it's not something you need to be scared of. It's really not. All right. What happens after, let's read some chat. We're going to go ahead and wrap it out pretty soon, but I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions in chat. Forget running, Jeb, start lifting and get swole. I would love to do that. That's the goal. In the next few weeks, I'd like to get back in the gym, start pumping the iron again. You know what I mean? Poor money management will cause you to be broke regardless of salary and way of living. Most live off credit these days, and nothing wrong with that unless you can't pay it off. Yep, exactly. Got a bunch of amens in chat. Love to see it. I'm thinking the slowest bleed over the course of the next 12 months down to only mid 80K. That could happen. Could totally happen. Would you suggest selling alts into BTC just in case bear market is starting? And if it doesn't, would you assume Bitcoin outperforms alts until it reaches all-time high again? I had this exact question on a coaching call, 1-hour coaching call yesterday. What I told the guy was that, he's probably watching this stream. Shout out to you. You'll remain anonymous for your own confidentiality. Don't worry. But what I told him was that the way that you succeed in anything is by adopting correct principles and then holding fast to those correct principles with integrity. It's very similar to what we just talked about with beginning with the end in mind. You have to figure out what your principles are, and you have to make every decision that you can based on those correct principles. So, for example, I don't invest in any asset, and I don't do anything with money if my wife does not agree with it, because I know that she has a good head on her shoulders and she knows what she knows. She knows what she doesn't know. She knows when it's appropriate for her to say, Jeb, I have no idea. You're the expert. You make the call. And sometimes she's going to say, Jeb, I don't know about that. I feel like that's a bad idea. You know what I wanted to do? You guys, you're like, oh man, Jeb, you're this awesome analyst. You do everything right. You know what I wanted to? I wanted to ape in and buy $30,000 of Bitcoin right here. My wife was like, Jeb, haven't you been saying that Bitcoin's getting oversold, overbought? Didn't you say that the local top is going to be 130K? Doesn't that mean there's not much to gain there? Doesn't that mean we're probably going to see a correction? I'm like, man, you're right, sweetie. I'm going to hold off. I almost pressed buy on $30,000 worth of Bitcoin right here. My wife doesn't agree with it. I don't do it. I don't do it. I don't do it. You know why? Because Proverbs 31 says, a virtuous wife who can find, her worth is far above rubies. She shall give her husband no need of spoil. I know that my wife is a virtuous woman. I was very selective in choosing her. So she doesn't agree with it. I'm almost certainly not going to do it. Unless she's just completely off the walls, which she never is, then I'm not going to do it. The second thing is, if I don't have peace from the Holy Spirit, I'm not going to do it. Asking your wife for financial advice is gay. My friend, you obviously don't have a happy marriage. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. If you guys can't figure out how to work as a team, then you got to figure that out, or nothing else in your life is going to work. The second thing I don't do is I never do anything with money if I don't have peace from the Lord with it. If it gives me anxiety, if it makes it so I can't sleep at night, if I can't stop thinking about it, if I'm like, I'm just freaking out because of this investment decision I made, I don't do it. I need the peace of the Lord in everything that I do. Everybody's dumping on this Spars Wars guy. Yeah, just shut it. That's just retarded, what you just said. That's just ridiculous. I'll tell you what, you want to know what's not gay? How much fun you get to have with your wife when you value her opinion. All the men in chat will understand exactly what I'm talking about. You win her heart, and then you won. You feel me? Okay, that's all I'm going to say. We're trying to keep it PG. Oh my goodness. Can you explain why Cadena crashed? I'd have to do some research into it. I don't invest in alts that often, so I haven't looked at it. No short-term target until Trump stabilizes himself. Man, you just kind of boiled down everything I've been trying to say all stream very well. That's really one of the major things I'm trying to say. Started lifting at 35. Best decision of my life. It's never too late. Jeb always reads my questions because he knows I have no idea what that's abbreviated for. No idea. I assume it's something that you're going to try and get me to say that's going to make me look silly. Lifting will tear your joints up in the long run. Lightweight calisthenics. You do have to be very careful so you don't jack up your joints. You do have to make sure you warm up, cool down, stretch, ease into new weights. You don't want to go adding 20 pounds on the bar every week. You're just going to hurt yourself. So you do have to be careful. Lifting in the long run, if you do it right, will actually be good for your joints because it trains your joints to be under load so that if you bend down and you pick something up, your joints are ready for that because you've been doing it over and over and over and over again and they're prepared for it. But if you just, if you do what I did when I started deadlifting, like I have very strong legs. The first time I ever deadlifted, I was deadlifting 245. Like 245, 265. And what happened is because I didn't work into that, I had the raw strength, but I didn't have the form. My spine was not in correct positioning. What ended up happening is I ended up hurting myself. And my back hurt for a couple of years because I jacked it up because I went too fast. So you can definitely hurt yourself on very heavy lifts, especially deadlift, if you're not doing it right. I have a video of the day that I hurt myself. I hit 265. It was like the third time I ever deadlifted. And I did, and so the problem is that you just have to be very careful to be wise, just in general. Happy wife, happy life. Always follow that rule. So long as your wife is a virtuous woman, that is completely true advice. Completely true advice. If your wife is a virtuous woman, if her definition of happy is correct, if her definition of happy is correct, then yes, that's largely true. But the reason I say that is because if your wife's happiness is in alignment with what makes God happy, then what you're doing is you're not making your wife happy, you're making your God happy. If you make God happy, you're gonna have a successful life. So to be clear, happy wife, happy life is not explicitly biblical. But what I will say is that making God happy and having God be pleased with your decisions, that will lead to you having a happy life. So it's more so happy God, happy life. But if your wife is virtuous, then obeying God will make her happy too. Better than not lifting your entire life, so being fragile, a fall can kill you when you're old. It isn't. I do think it's important to embrace physical fitness. Just a Pigeon said, you sound like a young Dave Ramsey. I disagree with Dave Ramsey on a multitude of things. That said, we're both preaching out of the same book. So he and I do say a lot of similar things. Both husband and wife need to be happy to have a happy home. Yeah, agreed. Totally. The man's happiness is just as important as the woman's. It totally is. Totally is. You've got the devil just trying to destroy homes left and right. He's done it through feminism. He's done it through deadbeat men. He's done it in both directions. Women being awful to their husbands, husbands being awful to their women. And it has to stop. You have to go back to what God taught you to do if you're a woman. You have to go back to what God taught you to do if you're a man. And if you don't do it, you're part of the problem. Bottom line. I've got no time for nonsense. It's not unkind for me to tell you that if you're not doing what God taught you to do, then you're going to hurt someone. Probably yourself. Someone said asking your wife for financial advice is gay. My friend, you must not have a happy marriage. No, I 100% guarantee you that if this person is telling the truth and that's what they think, I would bet any amount of money that they have a miserable marriage, if that's what you think. If you think talking to your woman about financial decisions is a bad idea, you have no idea how a marriage should operate. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're a good provider, you probably know 99% more about finances than she does, because she's not supposed to be worried about all that. But God will oftentimes give your wife an intuition, and she's a little prophet, and her job is to share that intuition with you because she was given to you to be a helper. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, God made them male and female. In the image of God created he him. In the image of God created they them. God created you and her in the image of God and is able and willing and righteous to lead both of you together as a team. If you were trying to lord over your woman and be a dictator, well, what does the word dictator start with? That's what you're being. Your job is to empower her to be a member of your team. That does not make you less of a man. That makes you a gentleman. Where does the word gentleman come from? It's a man who's gentle. To be a man, you have to learn how to be strong, but you have to learn how to be gentle at the same time. Gentleness is not weakness. Gentleness is strength under control. I'm very strong. I am literally stronger than all 4 other members of my family combined, probably times 3. I don't hurt them with that strength. I only ever use that strength for their benefit. Ever. What's the cause of this flash crash? Great question. You've got some very big swings coming out of Donald Trump. He can't seem to make up his mind about whether or not he likes China right now, and so that's leading to a lot of swings on Bitcoin. Jeb's a bit spicy in this one. Yep. To get about the emotional swings, just get in with the weekly and bi-weekly stock RSI is at the bottom and you're safe. For the most part, yeah. For the most part. That's, for the most part, accurate. When did this become a sermon for life advice? When the market got really boring and we had nothing else to talk about. That's when. That's when. It was so much different yesterday because Bitcoin was actually doing something. So we were in a trade. It was great. And now Bitcoin's just sitting here. I mean, literally just completely flat, not doing anything. So that's when. Because I want you to walk away with something, right? Jeb is the GOAT. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Guys, look, we're going to wrap it out here pretty soon. I do want to let you know, if you haven't already, you should make sure to sign up for I Trust Capital. I'm going to tell you exactly why. If you are trying to build wealth for the long run, one of the things you've got to figure out how to do is how to stop paying Uncle Sam all your money. Giving money to Uncle Sam is just, please do everything you can to avoid it. It's just, the government is so terrible with money. They take your money, they put it on a pile, and they put it on a pile and they light it on fire. It's just a joke. Paying taxes is a complete farce. And so you have to do it. I don't want you to commit tax fraud. I mean, I don't commit a felony and go to prison, but you should use every legal means possible to avoid taxes. And one of the legal means that has been set up by Congress is the 401k system and the IRA systems, the individual retirement account systems, whether traditional or Roth. And so if you want to invest in crypto and you want to avoid taxes, if that's the intersection of what you want to do, the best place to do that is I Trust Capital. I mean, how many of you want to avoid taxes? How many of you want to invest in crypto? Bitcoin. Spot, not ETF, spot. If you want to do both of those things, literally the number one trusted company in the world to do that with is I Trust Capital. If you want to avoid taxes and you want to buy crypto, the starting place for tax strategy when it involves crypto is fully funding a traditional or a Roth IRA, depending on what you're trying to do. A traditional IRA allows you to deduct the expenses of funding the IRA this year, which means you don't pay taxes on it. A Roth IRA, you don't deduct the expenses. You pay taxes this year, but you don't pay taxes at the end of the when you go into retirement at 59 and a half and plus. So if you want to buy crypto, one of the best things you could possibly do is put some of it into an IRA or a traditional IRA. A traditional IRA or a Roth IRA using I Trust Capital. So make sure to sign up for I Trust Capital with the link in the description box down below. Get to see my ugly mug over here. You'll get to see everything that we've got over here with I Trust Capital. And you will also be able to get access to all this with no monthly fees and a 1% cryptocurrency transaction fee. This is one of the lowest fees in the entire game. By avoiding taxes, you're going to save 10 to 20%, and you're paying I Trust Capital 1%. So this is completely negligible. It's also very much what you're going to pay with basically any other exchange. So, I mean, the fees are just ridiculously low for what you're getting. So please, I highly encourage you to sign up for I Trust Capital with the link in the description box down below. When you fund your account, you will get a $100 funding bonus. You can throw that right on into the investments. Jen, I'm 44 and learned more from you in 1 year than from my dad of 40 years. I don't know. You know, the older I get, the more I look back and I'm like, wow, my dad was right about so many things. Children go through three phases. First and foremost, they idolize their father. My son is at that point. He thinks that I am perfect and I can do no wrong, and I'm just the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm just awesome. But when you end up getting to like 10 to 13, maybe 15, if you're not careful with how you parent your children, and if they're not careful with their own emotions, then children will go from idolizing their fathers to demonizing their fathers. Basically, they're perfect to they're evil. And then, as you continue to mature, sons get to a point where they humanize their fathers. That a lot of times happens around the 20s. So for me, I'm in my 20s now, and I'm like, whoa, my dad was really going through it. I've got 4 kids. I had to bury one of them this year. It's not easy being a father because of a heart condition that no one caught at the hospital. Like, he had a heart attack in his sleep. Wow, I need to have so much compassion and understanding with people, knowing what's possible that people can go through. Because I've been through the ringer. I've done that. I've had to go through crap. My dad had to go through a lot of stuff. So I've humanized him now. I'm like, wow, he really was doing the best he could with what he had. And ever since I started to humanize my father, our relationship is the best that it has been since I was 8 years old. Genuinely, my relationship with my father today, and I hope he's listening to this. He watches the stream sometimes. Hope he hears this. My relationship with my dad is better today than it has been probably at any point in my entire life. When at one point a few years ago, it was probably at the worst that it had ever been in my entire life. Why? Because I was demonizing him. And I wasn't treating him like a human. I was expecting him to be perfect and making him out to be evil when he wasn't. And that's not fair to him. You set him up to fail like that. So for any of you guys that are sons that have fathers that you're disappointed with, just remember you're not perfect either. And for any of you fathers, just understand that what you've got to do is you've got to instill in your children the fact that you are not perfect. And the way you do that is that when you make a mistake, you walk up to them, you grab them by the little cheeks with your hands like this. You just say, listen to me. You're looking at me. No, look at my eyes. No, look at my eyes. Look at me. I need to tell you something. It's very important you pay attention right now. You know what just happened? I screwed up. I made a mistake. I am not perfect. I was wrong, and I'm really sorry, and this is what I'm going to do to fix it. Oh, well, I shouldn't have to apologize to my 3-year-old. Grow up. You're being a 3-year-old. The way that you teach your children to humanize you is you humanize yourself when you make a mistake by apologizing, and you don't make yourself out to be a god when they're 5, because they're going to treat you like a false god when you're 25. You made yourself out to be perfect. They realize you're not, and now they're going to act like you're evil. I don't expect that I'm going to go through all of that with my son, because when I make a mistake, I don't wait for him to say, Daddy, you screwed up. I don't wait for my wife to say, Jeb, you screwed up. The second I realize it, I pull him aside, I stop whatever I'm doing. I'll pull the car over, get out, and go to the back seat. I'll pull it. I'll make him say, Malachi, look at me. I made a mistake, because I'm not perfect, but who is? Jesus. That's right. He's perfect. He'll never hurt you. He'll never make a mistake. I'm not perfect. I screwed up. I want you to know that I'm really sorry, and I need to fix it. When I build that kind of relationship, I expect that he'll probably go through that. Every kid does, but it'll probably be a lot less. It'll probably be a lot less. Because I've not trained him to view me as perfect. I've made it very clear that I'm not. I'm just doing the best I can, and I know more than him, but I don't know everything. They'll say, Daddy, but you don't know everything. I'm like, you're absolutely right, but who does? Jesus, that's right. When you make yourself out to be God, you set your relationship with anybody up to fail. I love the life advice segments. Like I said, Bitcoin is not really doing anything right now, so that's why we're talking about this. Now, right now, it could have just hit a liquidity grab. Look at this. Remember, this is so funny. Right over here, I said Bitcoin's probably going to break through this support line at 107. And I talked about entering into a short trade, because I was like, man, I'd love to get into a trade on stream. That'd be so much fun. But I'm not going to take a bad trade. That'd just be bad. And I said, look, I've got to set my stop loss up here, and we only get like a 2.5x risk to reward ratio. I would have gotten stopped out. See that? I would have gotten stopped out. It went up here, would have tagged my stop, and then kept going back down. So that's why I didn't take that trade. And we might drop here. Still, we might do it, but I'm still not taking the trade, because I can't properly manage risk to reward on the drop below this line, so I don't do it. It violates my rules of trading, even though it will probably do it. I'll probably be right that it's going to drop through here. I don't see how it doesn't jump off the screen to me how I can properly manage risk to reward, so I'm not taking it. Those that lack it, they call it emotional intelligence. That's right. It's simply having empathy instead of being egotistical and prideful. That's right. Jeb has the maturity of a 60-year-old man. Good thing. Thank you. I learned from the best. His name is Jesus Christ, the righteous, the propitiation of our sins, and not our sins only, but the sins of the whole world. That includes you. Jesus didn't just die on that cross to save me. He died on that cross to save you too. And if you like what you see here today, just know that every single ounce of it came from Jesus. And if you don't like something that you saw here today, and you think that I've done something wrong, and I did do something wrong, just know that came from me, my sinful human nature. Anything good that you ever see in me, I'm not going to say everything you see in me because I make mistakes, but anything good you ever see in me has come from on high. All praise to God our Father, and all praise to Jesus Christ the Son. All praise to the Holy Spirit. They are 3 in 1. Give your life to him, and you will be saved. Make him your king and obey him. It's not about saying a prayer. It's not about saying, I believe in you, Jesus. It's about making him your king, which means you are making a decision to obey him. When you screw up, you go to Jesus and you ask for forgiveness. That's what Peter did. Judas screwed up and didn't ask for forgiveness, which is why he's in hell. Be a Peter. You're going to make mistakes. Go to Jesus when you do. Ask for forgiveness, repentance, and direction. Don't be a Judas. When you screw up, you go and just self-pity yourself and kill yourself like he did. Hope you guys enjoyed today's stream. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Also, highly encourage you to check out Stamp Seed if you haven't already. Stamp Seed is going to help you protect your seed phrases in the event of a fire. Big shout out to them. Really appreciate everything that they've done. Also, if you want to get into the first cohort Discord server, highly recommend doing it. There's so much stuff going on over here in the Discord server. If you want to join the Discord server, see some of the winning trades. If you want to see Climate of Crypto videos early, you can see my winning trade over here yesterday. I posted in here, so people are trading Aster. If you want to see the Climate of Crypto videos early, then you're going to be able to get access to all of that in the first cohort Discord server. The way you get into that is you sign up for 2bit, and you sign up for 2bit. Once you've signed up for 2bit, just deposit $100. And once you've deposited $100, then you can send an email with a screenshot over to malachipats@cryptojeb.com. Links in the description box down below. And then he will get you into the Discord server for free for a year through Teachable. So big shout out to 2bit, big shout out to I Trust Capital, and big shout out to Stampseed for sponsoring today's live stream. We very much appreciate their support of this channel and their support of this product, which is Coffee and Crypto Live. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next stream. I love you so much. Please let me know if there's anything at all that I can do to serve you and support you. It is our dedicated mission to help you be better than you were when you found us. We want you to have financial freedom. We want you to be financially sovereign. We want you to live a life full of joy, peace, and love. And I really appreciate you being here today and giving me your time. I hope it has been a blessing and a wise investment of your limited resources. I love you very much. And before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good feeling.